let's look a little bit at some of my favorite kitchen witchcraft and kitchen magic books that I have collected and read over the years. I think the oldest one I still have here, the oldest I ever had that I finally gifted when I was moving away. I took a lot of my witchcraft books and gave them to my sister, my friends, when I was moving, just different spiritual books that had served their time with me and were going to be with someone else. So I did like Wicca in the Kitchen by Scott Cunningham. My caveat to that is Scott Cunningham definitely vegan. And so there's going to be that vegan perspective. And depending on, how you feel with that, that can be something that you either, it really resonates with you, or it can be something that like brings up guilt for you or is maybe off-putting for you for, there's no judgment either way. But I do want to throw that out there that if it's Wicca related, very, very, not always, but very often there is a vegan component just to be aware of. So that was probably the first kitchen magic book that I ever got, was Wicca in the Kitchen by Scott Cunningham. Plenty of good information in it. Also had a glossary of ingredients that told you different associations and correspondences with different ingredients and stuff like that. But bear in mind, there is a little bit of the food ethics conversation in that particular book. I also have Supermarket Magic. This is by Michael Furie. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast, this is not the first time you're hearing me talk about this book. I love this book. This is an oldie favorite of mine. This was like the second or third kitchen specific magic book that I got. This was the book that introduced to me going into public places and putting and visualizing protective orbs around yourself before doing that. This was one of the first examples I read about that in my earliest days practicing witchcraft. And that is something that has served me well outside of the grocery store and cooking and kitchen magic. So again, it's another one of those things where I'm like, every single one of these books probably has like some little quirk that like totally changed things for me. Not just in the specific subject that the book's about, but like I probably found a way to apply it into my life and magic in general. I like Supermarket Magic because you are going to get some explanation about ingredients, but it's also organized by intention with the food or recipes. So healing is a whole chapter. Love, lust, and beauty magic is a whole chapter. Luck is a chapter. Money is another chapter, etc., etc. There's also a chapter on the Sabbats and the Esbats. So the Wheel of the Year celebrations. And then there is a little section in here about magical fundamentals. So this can be for like the total beginner or the intermediate witch who's ready to like pick it up and like already start rolling. And then the nice thing is that each section comes with lots of different recipes and lists and instructions, but they also have shopping lists as well, which can be really convenient, especially if you're a super visual person. So Supermarket Magic is a good one. Now, back to our pal, Scott Cunningham. Scott Cunningham is just a really famous Wicca writer. You've probably read at least or seen at least something of his or another. This is one of my favorite books on magical use of herbs. There are many, many great books on healing and holistic medicinal uses of herbs out there. This is magical spiritual properties specifically. And as you can tell, if you're watching the video, this is in general a pretty small book if you're thinking about the entire plant kingdom. So this is definitely not a fully exhaustive resource, but it is a wonderful base. It's a wonderful jumping off point. My biggest gripe with this book is that it's not bigger. There have definitely been a good handful of herbs that I've gone to look up, and I'm like, I cannot believe that's not in here. Because this, how does it just, I wonder if Scott defines an herb. I don't know if he defines an actual herb, but that's where we get a little bit hazy, because it's like, well, did we promise to put every single edible plant in here? I guess not necessarily, but at the same time, some of us do technically define an herb by an edible plant. But then that starts to get super dicey, because it's like, okay, so is an apple tree an herb? No, it's a fruiting tree. Exactly. So you're definitely going to run into some limits, is all I'm saying. But it's a wonderful, wonderful resource for specifically looking up, like, okay, so the first page I opened to was lettuce, garden lettuce. It's for Lactuca sativa is the plant name. Garden lettuce, lettuce, sleepwort, these are all different folk names. It lists the gender of the plant. So that's another disclaimer I'll put in here for you. This book was published in the 80s, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And so it talks about the gender of the plant being feminine or masculine. I personally choose to use the terms polarities and call different things left brain or right brain. Some people use terms like feminine and masculine, but they say I'm talking about divine or archetypal femininity and masculinity. Use phrases and terminology that work best for you, but I just want to put that out there to you, that this, this is written in the 80s, and so it does tell you on each plant here the gender, if it's masculine or feminine, so you can infer your own, or you can relabel it yourself. This is an easy one to find used usually. And then you can always like put little sticky notes you can mark in your own. You can treat this and books like this like little grimoires, where you can go and kind of add into what the author wrote, or you can even change what the author wrote by adding in your own experiences, your own terminology. Maybe a planet, Saturn, is here listed with henbane poison. Saturn is the planetary element. Maybe you work with this plant and you find that it has this very plutonic energy about it. And so you indicate that Pluto seems to be associated with this as well. So all of these can be jumping off points. I love Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Herbs. It can be a little outdated and a little limited in a few ways, but overall it has been, there's a reason it still has a place on my bookshelf, and it's still one of my most frequently grabbed reference books to this day. All right, now, my favorites. My favorites. So, The House Witch. You're probably going to be like, Danny, you've recommended all these books before. Yeah, and if you haven't checked them out yet, you need to. And if this is your first time here, or you haven't heard these recommendations yet, this is why I always re-recommend them, because there's always somebody who hasn't seen that episode or heard that recommendation from me. If you have not invested in The House Witch yet, and you enjoy what we talk about here on That Witch podcast, you need this book. You will love this book. This book inspires so much of my magical practice. So much came from this. I read it probably 2 or 3 times. It is a very quick, brief read, but it's succinct and solid, and it's Danny in a book, because I love good jumping off points like this. Like, I want you to give me the basics, give me a good, solid understanding, give me a few ideas for some inspiration, and then let me go running with it. And that's what The House Witch has done for me. It cracked open my house magic. And house magic is so intertwined with kitchen magic. So many of the concepts in house magic you're going to directly apply in the kitchen anyways. I highly recommend this book. so much. So good. Okay. This is by Aryn Murphy-Hiscock, by the way. Next. These have become little favies of mine. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know how much I love the Hearth Witch's Year. This is by Anna Franklin. Also by Anna Franklin is the Hearth Witch's Compendium and the Hearth Witch's Kitchen Herbals. So I don't have either of these kind of companion books, but they're probably just as wonderful. I love the Hearth Witch's Year. So much kitchen magic in here, so much home and lifestyle magic, but the whole thing is really centered around the seasons, the wheel of the year, okay? And this is often, just like the House Witch, these are concepts that you are going to naturally find and want to already apply in the kitchen. So the Hearth Witch's Year is an excellent, excellent resource and inspiration point. Also filled with lots of good historical information. We used this book and referenced it here on the podcast very frequently throughout our Wheel of the Year episodes. It's a really good, solid resource. I highly recommend it. Kitchen Witchery by Laurel Woodward, and The Witch's Feast by Melissa Jayne Madara. Okay, I apologize to anyone if I'm mispronouncing any authors' names. These are two that are newer to me. I have not covered either of them, so to speak. However, I have utilized at least half, if not more than half of each of these. Like I've definitely gotten through the bulk of both of these. But again, I couldn't say I've covered both of them yet. However, starting with Kitchen Witchery by Laurel Woodward, this is a newer one. This was published in 2021. And I love it. It is very similar to this episode where there is some really good background context on food and ingredients. It's going to go into some of that food ethics and food energy stuff. And then getting into the energies and the intentions that we can harness within foods, like love, attraction, fertility, new opportunities, etc. Talking about really infusing those with your magic or seeking foods out for those purposes. And then you've got a pretty good glossary of ingredients in this guy. That's what I really like. So I just opened randomly and I'm in wheat and other flours. And there's garbanzo flour, hazelnut flour, millet flour, oat flour, just on these 2 pages I'm open to right now. Each one has keywords it's associated with and a good solid paragraph of what is associated. So like garbanzo, or let's do the hazelnut flour. So hazelnut flour is associated with fertility, finding, healing, luck, knowledge, protection, wisdom, and wishes. And then the paragraph says, hazelnuts are also called filberts. They are prized for their flavor. If you are a Nutella fan, you will probably go gaga over hazelnut flour. Dry roasted nuts are quick to grind into flour. If using raw hazelnuts, be sure to toast them under the broiler and rub the skins off before you grind. Do not overbrown or the flavor will turn bitter. Add hazelnut flour to recipes to add energy for fertility, good health, healing, knowledge, luck, or protection. Use it to empower dowsing and wish magic. When I read through Kitchen Witchery, I feel like someone is sharing their kitchen grimoire with me, and I love it. I feel like I'm reading an experienced kitchen witch's notes and experiences that they've worked with and studied about food and ingredients over years and years of time, which is probably exactly how this book came into existence. So I have had nothing but good experience with this book so far. Again, I have not completed it cover to cover, but I've had no drawbacks in any part of it that I've read or utilized before. Highly recommend Kitchen Witchery. Now, the other newer one, The Witch's Feast, a kitchen grimoire. This is like for all my aesthetic girlies out there. It is gorgeous. My little sister gave me this book for Christmas. Yeah, it was Christmas. And if you're on YouTube right now and can see like the glory of the photography in here, it is stunning. It's really, really beautiful. And if you are at all into food photography, like I am, again, because I am a foodie in every way, shape, or form, in all aspects of it, you will really appreciate this book. It is look at the little like metallic on the cover. It's gorgeous. This is my special. I have a ceremony. I have a celebration. I have a feast I'm crafting. This is like I'm spending hours in the kitchen doing kitchen magic today. I'm making a feast for the equinox, or I am making dinner for Beltane. I'm pulling out the witch's feast first, and I am going to that specific, specific feast, and I'm learning about because each of her spreads in here. So there's a feast of Virgo. Let's go to the table of contents. That'll be a little bit better. So there are different feasts throughout this book. Feasts of the ancestors. These are traditional feasts, recipes, and rituals of witches past. Then there's feasts of the stars. These are cooking through the wheel of the zodiac. And then there's Feasts of the Heavens, which is planetary magic in the kitchen. So cooking with the sun, the moon, Mercury, etc. Feasts of the Earth, and those are those seasonal feasts like spring equinox, summer solstice, etc. And then there's Feasts of Spells. These are potions, rites, and dinner spells. Each recipe in here, and like individual recipe and whole feasts that feature multiple recipes, all have explanation. So she explains why she chose those ingredients, why that food, why it's associated with that time of year or that energy, etc., etc. So it gives you the visual inspiration. It's like so Venus in a book. It's like this visual inspiration, but it makes you you still bring it into the tangible by cooking it. But you're also learning. And these are such unique recipes. This is a great, great example of someone being inspired by our ancestors and ancient practices and marrying this with our modern reality and world, like we were talking about. I love the witches' feasts. I have cooked several, not near all, but I have cooked many different recipes out of here and loved them. So highly, highly recommend. Okay, and then my last little cookbook here is called Signs and Seasons. This is an astrology cookbook. I asked for this for Christmas a few years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. It is adorable. So the Signs and Seasons, Feed Your Sign, the Food It Craves, is by Amy Zerner, Monte Farber, Amy Zerner and Monte Farber with Chef John Okas. Again, apologies if I am mispronouncing any names at all. This is when astrologers and cooks came together and magic happened. This is organized by the astrological wheel. So it begins at spring with Aries. There is it begins with the whole first quarter of the zodiac wheel. So Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. We've got explanation about Aries, different information about the sign itself, how they eat, how they cook, how they entertain. Then we're on to Taurus for the same information. Then we're on to Gemini for the same information. Then it takes us through, does it do all of them? Oh, okay. So we go through the whole entire zodiac wheel just at the very beginning. Then you go into the recipes, which are organized by season. And the photography and the food visuals in here are also absolutely stunning and gorgeous as well. And each of the recipes has explanation about how and why it's associated with that zodiac time, that season, that time of year, along with the actual recipe itself. This is very, very similar in my home to the Witch's Feast, where I really use both of these for ceremonial, big cooking kitchen magic. I am utilizing books like The House Witch, The Hearth Witch's Year, Kitchen Witchery to inform more of my day-to-day kitchen witchcraft. And I'm using those bigger books because I'm grabbing them for specific recipes that I'm either going to directly make or I'm going to riff off of for an equinox celebration, etc. Something along those lines. And then the last books that I recommend are the books that you create yourself. So what each of these are that I'm holding up is they're blank notebooks that we have filled. So this one called Favorite Recipes, this little binder, this was just a little blank recipe binder that we bought at Target in the upfront cheap section at Target, like 10 years ago or something. We've had this for so long. It was probably 10 years ago. We've had it forever. And over time, as my husband and I have nailed down our favorite recipes, we add them in here. So my husband's absolutely out of this world brown butter chocolate chip cookies. They live immortally in this book, for example. Our famous green chili recipe is in here. Yep, see, the best chocolate chip cookies. And there's literally flour and chocolate smudges on it. That's the best. That's what I love about these. I like a binder for this because it makes it really, really easy to organize, tear out, add to. We happen to find this cute little thing and it's worked wonders for us. But any type of little binder and paper, notebook or whatever would work totally and completely fine and serve the same purpose. This is a grimoire, a little family recipe book, and we even have a couple of recipes from my husband's grandma in here as well that she hand wrote for us, and I just keep them clipped in here anytime that we need them. This is the type of thing that I want to add to and pass on to Blair, and maybe she passes on. I don't know. This is a grimoire. This is a book of shadows, though. Your recipe book is a book of shadows. Don't be afraid to use it. Write in it. It doesn't have to be beautiful and pretty. It could just be a standard binder or notebook that you start, and you eventually can always upgrade it or change it later. But you should start by writing down the things that you love making the most. If there's something that someone you love makes, something that is one of your favorite things in the world, ask them to write it down. If they don't know it, ask if you can write it down while they cook it one day and explain the process to you. This is something that my mother-in-law organized for my husband's grandma, for the whole family, really is why she did this. But she went to my husband's grandma, her mom, and asked her to write down some different family favorite recipes. And it turned into this beautiful, huge project where some of her recipes she knew where she got them from, or she was able to just say. But some of them she hadn't followed a recipe in years. It was something that she had just made. And so my mother-in-law would watch her cook it and would ask her questions and write notes down and make notes about measurements and things like that. She compiled all of this information into digital and physical books and ordered them for all of us and had them printed for all of us. So we have these notebooks, these collections of all of the family's favorite recipes of different foods that my husband's grandmother has made for years and years and years. And it has been not only this, I mean, we use it all the time because we love the dishes in there, but it's the process that went into making it was beautiful. And it's just something that is so inspiring that I think so many of us could adopt as well. And then just to kind of tie off in the really traditional witchcrafty way, they do also have Kitchen Witch blank grimoires out there. So this is called the Kitchen Witch's Grimoire. This was published by Pagan Essentials. There are a few different types of journals out there published by Pagan Essentials that you can find online. This is this really simple notebook. You open it to blank pages, but they're structured blank pages. It gives you space to write the title of the recipe, how many servings, cook time, prep time, temperature, all your usual, the ingredients, and then the steps. If you want to pair it with a wine or a beverage, where the recipe came from, like if it was your own or if you got it from somebody. And then it also has a wine component next to it, which I got these in my wine drinking days. But this basic structure and concept is so easy to adopt for yourself. You could get a structured book like this and follow it exactly, and fill these in exactly as they're intended. Oh, and then there's also, I forgot, there's lunar pages in here as well, where you can write what phase of the moon that the moon was in at that time, if you invoked any deities during this recipe, any immediate feelings or effects from the recipe. So you can, it's this threefold of a recipe book. It can also be used as like a wine taster or a beverage taster, as well as a spell book as well. You can get something like this and follow it as intended. Or you can get this and you can totally change it. So if you get this and you're like me and you're like, well, I'm not really going to use it for wine, but I have use on this page, I can change the label for X, Y, and Z, and I can change it to say this, and maybe I have this instead. Maybe this is going to be the food recipe side, and maybe this is going to be the elixir that I made, especially because every single feast that I make, I always make some sort of elixir, some sort of mixed drink without alcohol for myself to go with the meal that I'm having in a special way, especially because I like to have a drink while I'm cooking as well. It's usually the first thing I craft or make before I start the actual cooking process itself. So something like this can be really helpful for someone who needs the structure and doesn't really know where to get started in creating their own kind of kitchen witch grimoire. Having this structure and like blanks to fill in can feel really helpful. This can also feel really stifling and suffocating for others as well. So you might not like something where you have to fill in the blank, and you might need something where you can kind of like go on a blank page and roam free. But I still wanted to show you both of these because we do use them both in our home for different purposes. And it is so cool to go back and see these foods and these recipes that you've either adopted or you've created and how they've evolved over the years, and the memories you have associated with those recipes that you've grabbed for over and over again. So if you have something, if there's like a salad that you make or a soup that you make or a certain sandwich that you make, it's like one of your favorites and you're like, it wasn't really from a recipe. It's just this thing that I've been making for forever, but I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I crave it all the time. Write that down. Do that process with yourself, like I explained with my husband's family. Do that process with yourself. Get paper and something to write out with, and write out how you make that. If you had to measure it, what would the measurements roughly be? When you look at it through that perspective, what are some of the magical correspondences of those ingredients? If you have this just love for PB&J, if you're like, I know it's not like the fanciest thing, but it's like the most nostalgic and I love it and it's comforting and like, I just love PB&Js. Look up the magical correspondences for peanuts, for whatever type of fruit that your favorite jelly is made out of, and wheat or whatever grain of bread that you're using. And go look up those magical correspondences and turn around and go, oh, that's really fascinating, actually, no wonder I love and crave PB&J so much. It's associated with this. You never know. It's kind of like learning your birth chart. Learning these magical associations and correspondences with food and how they show up in our cooking and in our eating for ourselves. It's a lot like learning our birth chart, where we're like, it's this totally spiritual lens of looking through, where you don't realize you've been totally, you've been in symbolic metaphor with the universe without even realizing it. And now that you are realizing it, you can now bring even more mindfulness into the act, even more intention, and have purpose in how you choose what to nourish yourself with, how you prepare what you nourish yourself with, and how you care for the area and the tools where you prepare your foods and your drinks as well. So, neighbor, thanks for being here with me today. It's been such a blast, like really just getting into the heart and soul of kitchen magic with you today. Straight from the heart and soul of a true kitchen witch. I've got all links and information for any books that I recommended in the show notes below if you're interested in any of those. If you are like, oh my God, I would love to keep going further and further, because again, there is so much more we can go into, that we will be going into the Kitchen Magic Masterclass. Make sure that you join me in that witch school. All access members are going to have automatic access to this workshop and any other future workshops. But this is also going to be coming to you in that witch shop as well. So keep an eye out for this workshop. When I release it, you will hear about that here on the podcast, but you'll always hear about those things first in my email newsletter. So make sure that you do subscribe to my email newsletter. Any information you need is in the show notes below. Thank you for your time and your interest in magic, my friend. It is always so much fun hanging out with you here in the neighborhood. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Hell yeah to season 8. We have so much more we're going to be getting into, my friend. Make sure that you are out there staying safe, letting yourself have some fun, and of course, stay magical, my friend. What is that witch school? That witch school is my magical monthly membership that combines safe, welcoming, nurturing community with quality, ethical witchcraft and astrology education. This is like Patreon meets social media, but better. We have monthly calls hosted and guided by myself, as well as multiple instructors within our school. An incredibly beautiful and supportive community of like-minded witches, all built from the neighbors within our neighborhood right here. Plus, there is a just astounding library of resources and content that is always growing, and so much more. You can go back and listen to my episode on the podcast called Welcome to That Witch School 2025 for all kinds of details and information on the membership, the different plans you can subscribe for, pricing, and frequently asked questions, everything that you need to know. Or you can always send me a direct message or email if you ever have any questions. You can get my contact information in the show notes below. And when you're ready to join us, you can go to thatwitchschool.com and find the plan that works for you and join our magical community today.